humanity sets the agenda.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It is exactly 9:46 a.m. This will be our final interview for the morning. Our guest is Dr. Vusi Sabanda. He is the chairperson of the African Diaspora Forum. We are going to talk to him about a finger that's being pointed at the growing number of foreigners in the country, and the suggestion is that they are sponsoring terrorism in South Africa. So let's go to Dr. Sabanda and get this interview on the road. A very good morning to you. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, and good morning to the listeners, and thank you very much for inviting me.
Okay, you are the leader of the Patriotic Alliance, and you obviously are talking here, being the chairperson of the African Diaspora Forum. Last week, Wednesday, I had an interview with 3 journalists from the Sunday Times. They filed a report regarding 65 or 60 odd billion rand that has made its way out of the country via spaza shops in the townships. And this money is supposedly, according to their report, funding terrorism in the neighboring African countries. That's the one issue. And we now also hear that Chris Barron, another journalist, had an interview with leader of the Patriotic Alliance, Gayton McKenzie, who further is agreeing to this narrative that illegal foreigners and possibly other foreigners in the country are responsible for the funding of ISIS, setting up of ISIS cells, perhaps in South Africa, and funding ISIS operatives in other parts of Africa. Welcome, and your thoughts on the matter.
Thank you very much. Okay, I am not from the Patriotic Alliance, but yes, I know that we have had a lot of sentiments that seems to suggest that the operations of ISIS and so forth could be aligned to illegal immigration. Now, one thing that we know is the issue of ISIS is a global problem, and it's a global pandemic that is not only affecting South Africa. Now, this is basically trying to put issues that are not related together in order, for people like Gayton McKenzie that anti-migrant, people that we would refer to as xenophobic, that don't want people, or migrants in South Africa. They are trying to justify their actions in fermenting, the hatred towards migrants. And as a result, they are now trying to find an excuse which they want to, so that they can legitimize their hatred, their operations, their continued attacks, on migrants. There is not anything that, is tangible evidence that can relate to the majority of the migrants that are, in South Africa, linking them to terrorism or ISIS. If anything, we have not seen any one person that has been arrested who is a migrant and who is associated to these operations. So what we are looking at the situation here is we have always said that we do not support illegal immigration. We want people to be properly documented in the country so that those that are immigrants can also be in the database of the country, so we know if there is anyone committing crime who is committing crime. But the problems that we have is we have got a lot of people that are asylees and refugees in South Africa that are being made to become illegal because of the system and because of the mere fact that the Department of Home Affairs is not creating or making it easy for them to apply for documentation. As you would know, for example, since the break of the pandemic, the asylum seeker system has been closed, and now when it opens, and we're told that it has to operate online, when a lot of these people do not have access to internet and don't even have the understanding of how to access the system. So yes, this story is more of a fallacy than the truth, in our view.
You'll be pleased to know that in my first interview this morning, I spoke to an attorney who really spoke very highly of the Somalian and Ethiopian nationals living in the country. He actually suggested, his name is Nadeem Mohammed, he is an attorney, and said that these communities have brought millions of rands of money into the country. They've created massive employment within their own communities, and they are operating legitimate and legal businesses. They are helping the economy grow. So it's really heartening to hear those type of stories. However, Gayton McKenzie and the three Sunday Times journalists suggest that they do have, rather the three Sunday Times journalists suggest that they have evidence pointing to illegal immigrants in the townships that are allowing for these large sums of money that equate into billions of rands leaving the country via the hawala or whatever other system and making its way to funders of ISIS or ISIS operatives all around Africa.
Well, look, if they could have give us a trace exactly that shows that the money that is leaving, there's South Africa, for example, from the traders, in the township is actually headed, for supporting terrorism. That would really help, because one of the issues that we also want to point out is when you look at the first part, for example, where you were referring to the contribution, of the Somali and Ethiopian community, you can look at the, Johannesburg CBD, which in the year 2000 has actually become a white elephant, and now it has become so vibrant and has become a $10 billion, kind of an economy, according to a research by, Dr. Sarah, a US fellow student. And that is the reason why we also find that there is a concerted effort in actually attacking the migrant community, because a lot of businesses, like, for example, when you look at Rosebank and Sandton, started to sprout and come up with the hope that Johannesburg would crumble and business would come to those areas, but that is not happening. So that is why there is a conspiracy there against that. But on the same note, to then say that the businesses in the townships, are sponsoring or supporting terrorism, it becomes a story that again is being written. If there is a paper trail that will follow that money, we know that one of the biggest challenges that small business owners are having is opening bank accounts, because obviously, of the documentation issue, because every now and again they've got to open bank, they've got to go and renew their asylum documents every 3 or 6 months. And as a result, they cannot sustain bank accounts and they keep that money, unbanked. And they may send some of that money, obviously, because some of them fled their countries, but they still have families back at home. But now, how do they really propose that they will show that this money is going to terrorism? Because if that is happening, we are all, are unhappy about that. And we are not even saying it is not happening, because we are not going to speak for those people that might be committing crime. But what we are saying is, if there is crime, it should be brought to light, not to simply say we have got the evidence, but it's not brought to light, and it's making all these allegations that are not substantiated by fact, because it's actually supporting and it's actually creating a lot of hatred, between migrants and native South Africans, when the evidence has not been brought to the table to prove that those kind of allegations.
So, as the obviously heading up, or the chairperson of the African Diaspora Forum, these issues are very, very concerning for you, because these type of statements, when you have a leader of a political party making these type of suggestions, like Gayton McKenzie has suggested that it's the illegal foreigners or foreigners that are funding ISIS activities and other terror activities, not only in South Africa, but beyond our borders as well. He further went on to say that the FBI arrested the Black Axe leadership in South Africa. I don't even know who they are. It's the first time I hear of this. And he says that those people then said, if you deport us, we're going to expose many senior people in this country, including cops. Until today, nobody's been deported. And the question is, he has obviously challenged the journalists to ask yourself why. What do you know about the Black X leadership in South Africa? What are they all about? Are they
Well,
part of people you represent?
they are not part of people that we represent because we don't even know them. And I think Gayton McKenzie, knows those people better because he might have the links. It's very unfortunate, that some of these conspiracy theories that are coming up, are conspiracy theories of things that are synonymous to the dark world, a myth or mythical, and that only Gayton McKenzie seems to know. Maybe you'd rather come out cleanly and tell us how he knows and his involvement himself with these black acts that he's talking about. I don't want to, speak like I'm bringing, Gayton McKenzie's past, into the picture. But it is very unfortunate that some of the issues that he's saying are very shady and they actually speak to his own past, and then that makes one doubt if he has really disassociated himself from that particular past or he's still involved. Because the Black X, it sounds like a gang of some sort, and if Gayton McKenzie knows anything about this, he should not be telling us about the FBI coming to make an arrest of the Black X in South Africa when we have got the South African Police Services. This is not a jurisdiction of the FBI. Why would the FBI be the ones making that arrest and not the South African Police Services? So Gayton McKenzie sounds like he's talking about movie style stories that could not be more than a figment of an imagination unless he has provided that proof. But to all intents and purposes, if there is any evidence of such criminal activities, we as the migrant community will be very happy, to assist wherever we can. And if that information is provided to us, to also try and find out more, because we are against crime and we are much, much against it. But we are also very saddened and very sad when these bold allegations are made, and they are made about mythical or urban legends that nobody seems to know about.
So, Dr. Sibanda, undoubtedly you've been working long and hard with the migrant communities. Obviously, you do look after their interests, and these type of narratives really does promote, I suppose, xenophobia. And it is important that you put out the correct narrative so that migrant communities are protected against any form of xenophobic attacks or Islamophobic attacks. Be that as it may, how do you deal with criminality within the migrant community, and not necessarily the criminality that Gayton McKenzie is accusing the migrant communities of? Just probably petty criminality or other types of criminality.
What we're actually doing, with the migrant communities, that for even for their own good, where in the majority of the cases, even at the detriment of their own lives, we do not refuse and refute the fact that in the migrant community there are people that are criminals, and we are discouraging that. We've actually made an offer, for example, here in Gauteng at some stage, when we spoke with the premier, to say, look, we need a situation where in the migrant community we've got people that are properly documented, that can be integrated into the police and community service system, to ensure that those people that live in those communities, because it would not really help to think that you can stamp out some of the petty crimes that we have in migrant communities if you don't have migrants themselves empowered to arrest and to deal with those kind of criminals. So we have actually said, look, let's work together. Let's get an integrated system where we can give migrants the power, even if it means it's done on a community policing forum where there is adequate training. If the government says, look, the South African populace is going to complain that we have got migrants that are employed as police officers, but we must also recognize that those that have acquired permanent residence and citizenship do qualify to be employed in this particular regard. But unfortunately, we don't see this happening, because the idea, of this xenophobic is not only starting, it's actually something that is so institutionalized, that appears to be coming from government in a lot of areas, because government is not supporting this integration to a huge extent. We are seeing it in the attacks that are being, leveled against, migrants, by groups such as Dudula, where we see government departments speaking and working hand in hand, with these groups, rather than stopping the vigilantism that is coming up, which would actually, break away, this attack. The government may not be physically doing it, but as long as it is seen to be understanding and sympathetic to the cause of such groups, then it becomes very unfortunate that it makes it difficult even for the migrant community to come up, and work clearly, with government. But yes, we are against, and where there are crimes committed in the migrant community, we report them. We also encourage people that know petty criminals like your fraudsters, people that misrepresent and do these petty, businesses or fraud, to inform us so that we can in turn inform the police. And we've got a few that come forward and we share that information.
Okay, finally, let's go on to my final question to you is the more serious crimes. And this is not from Gayton McKenzie. This is from previous reports that I have read. The migrant community, immigrants, legal or illegal, have been pointed out as drug traffickers, drug peddlers, and also human traffickers. How do you respond to that, and how are you dealing with that issue if it is in fact true?
Look, one thing that I need to make very clear is that in the migrant community, we have drug peddlers, we have human traffickers, just like we have that in the South African community of citizens. So this is why we are always saying that crime is not based on the nationality of a person. It is a human phenomenon that we would like to stamp out, because the same kind of crimes that are committed by migrants affect also the migrants themselves. So what we are doing and what we are saying is that wherever we get information that shows that there is a syndicate or anything that promotes or is associated with criminality, we want to, and we give that information to the law enforcement authority. In Gauteng, for example, we are in constant communication with the police commissioner and the leadership of the SAPS whenever there's anything that is happening, so that we share this information. And even when we suspect that there's anything that is untoward that is happening, we are more than willing to share that information. We want to stamp out community that is committed by migrants, because we believe that to those people that are naive, that may not understand, they actually want to take those steps and use them as an excuse to fight people in the migrant community, when in fact we should all be putting our hands together to fight crime across the board.
Dr. Vusi Sabanda, Chairperson of the African Diaspora Forum, thank you indeed for your time this morning and for putting those facts on the table for us. Undoubtedly, the story is not going to go away. We can't change perceptions by just one program on air. We need to work long and hard to make people see the light, to change their perspectives, and to work hand in hand as a larger community. So thank you once again. God bless, and have yourself a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
And before I wrap up, we have a WhatsApp comment from Faisal. Shukran indeed, Faisal, for taking the time to comment. And you go on to say that the Muslim community has set an example by legally questioning these Islamophobic journalists. Alhamdulillah, but I think our work is not over as yet, Faisal. There's still lots and lots of hard work ahead of us to change perceptions and to call people to book, to call them to account, for them to obviously hand over the evidence for us to see whether what they are reporting is in fact true or not. But as I've said, we are following this, and either Inayat or I will delve deeper into these issues and give you the backstory. That's it from me on the show this morning, 5 after 10. Shukran for keeping me company. Till tomorrow morning, as always, take care. Allah be with each and every one of you. A very big thank you to our production team as well. And till tomorrow, as I say, take care. Assalamu alaikum. And Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Ali.